Hey, it's Jeremy from Jeremy.net. So, these are some layouts from the previous issue of my comic book Morningstar. It's issue 7 here. And by this point in the series, I've really started to incorporate reference very regularly into my process. And it's interesting going back and looking here and seeing just how much I, you know, the reference that I have, you can see on my iPad there. I'm fortunate enough, I've got two figures that I can set up. And I have two sets of these. So I've got two males and two females, because sometimes you've got women fighting women, women fighting men, men fighting men. And you've just, this way allows me to put together various possible scenarios with the figures, as opposed to just having to have one figure and then fake it, which even sometimes if I've got group poses, I may just pose one figure. I may have to pose one or two figures in a set, take a photo, then take another one and kind of collage them together. But even with this one, I'm looking at it and I feel like comparison to the reference I have below me, I didn't necessarily push it as much of a bird's eye view as I could have. So I'm looking at this now in comparison to what I rendered. I definitely changed it up, and I don't believe in being a slave to reference. I honestly believe that reference is a tool. It's not a rule. You shouldn't be stuck to it. That said, with this one, I wish in this first panel that I had made it more of a down shot. And I think the reason why I didn't is just because of the horizontal nature of the panel. That in order to make them as much of a down shot as I did and still fit both figures in correctly, I would have had to make this a taller panel, or just make the figure smaller. And so it was one of those things where I kind of had to sacrifice and make some choices in terms of, do I want to draw and have a shot that's a little bit closer to the characters, feels a little bit more intimate, or do I want to do it wider so I can get that overhead shot? And looking back now, I mean, any creator can look back at their previous work and, looking back, play armchair quarterback and say, well, I should have done this instead of that, and change up their decisions. Now, one change I am glad I made with the reference is you'll see in this shot that, looking at the reference on the left, the female figure is grabbing the character's arm. And again, this is a pose where the changes I made, I moved it from her grabbing him kind of from the bicep. I put her hand on the shoulder instead. And that is also, again, due to this shot now being more horizontal, where the actual panel, the panel that I'm drawing into, is more of a square. And I feel like the change that I made does fit the panel and the scene in the moment I have better. So a lot of this is starting out with, you can't really see them, but sitting above the iPad is a page full of thumbnails. So as always, I start with my thumbnails, and based on the thumbnails, I shoot my reference. And then I draw my layouts using the reference. But that said, sometimes what I have in camera with the reference just doesn't quite match up with what I have when I'm really putting my drawings and the storytelling into the actual final page. Although I will tell you, you can see I switched here from using the gray action figures now. I had switched, when I drew those heads before, to little sculptural busts. And those are busts I was able to find a set online for a pretty reasonable price. And they're just a bunch of small handheld busts, like maybe 3 inches tall. But those I will use just to get the actual form and the lighting on the head. It helps me place the features better when I'm doing figures. So I've been using those for more of the close-up shots, and I'm really glad I found those. In fact, if I can find a link to them online, I'll put an affiliate link in the description along with this video. So if you guys want to see if you can get those online, if you're somebody who uses reference, it might be useful to you. I've found that they're useful to me, not just for reference, but to be honest, I wish I had more time that I could just sit and do studies from these sculptures, because that's the main reason why I bought them, was just having a variety of heads and features to do studies from, because I don't make as many trips to the museum as I used to. And I really actually find that next to doing figure drawing, one of the best things is just drawing from sculpture. It really does give you the sense of dimension, but it also gives you that beauty and elegance of, a master sculptor making a lot of those creative choices for you. Now, in this last panel here, you can see I went through multiple times. I started drawing that hand pose, and it's just going to be the character Remiel, that woman, that girl, taking her hat off as she's talking to the Archangel Michael. And I drew it a bunch of times and just was not happy with how it went. And again, the reference, it's just there for inspiration. I went back and I said, all right, that shot that I planned was not working, so let me redraw the thumbnails until I have a pose that I want. I tried a couple of different poses for her holding the hat and taking the hat off, so I finally found a hand gesture that captured what I want. So for me, it's those subtle things. The hands do is just as much acting and storytelling as the faces do. So once I got a hand gesture that I felt, casually got her just taking her hat off as she's having, the most important conversation she's going to have with this character, because this is kind of her last sell to try and win him over to joining Lucifer's side. And, so, all these subtle things, just the hand pose, her, her facial expression, all these little subtle bits here are kind of things that, as you can see, draw and erase, draw and erase. In fact, one would say I probably drew and erased on this page more times than I should have. But that's what, sometimes when you have a picture in your mind and you're just trying to get that on the page, that's what happens when you're pursuing excellence. Thanks for watching. There are links in the video description. If you'd like to support this channel for as little as $2 a month, subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/GERIMI. There's tons of bonus content and you can cancel at any time. If you'd like to read some of my comics for free, visit news.jeremy.net. And if you'd like to purchase physical copies of my comics, you can go to my Amazon author page at amazon.jeremy.net. That's amazon.gerimi.net. That's it for now. Go be creative.